Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. To think that just over, 18 months ago or so, we all stood on our doorsteps and clapped the NHS. We gave them a round of applause for all the excellent work they do. I mean, they were party to a big conspiracy, but that's not their fault. And we do admire them for doing a job that, to be honest, is a bit shitty at times when you're cleaning up vomit and crap from people who are very, very ill. Who would normally be appalled that they were doing such things, but because of the illness, it's not a pleasant job. And they deserve a good wage. They deserve a living wage. They deserve, even in this times of straits and high inflation, they deserve a pay rise. No one is querying that. However, these angels for whom we clapped are now threatening to go on strike and let Granny die because they're not getting double the rate of inflation rise. They want 19.2%. Inflation is currently about 10. So they want double inflation rise, which I think is, quite strictly speaking, greedy. But the irony is, or if a better word perhaps, hypocrisy is, that the Royal College of Nursing, that is asking for nearly 20% for its members, has just given its own employees a pay rise of 4.5%. So we want 20, you're getting 4.5. If it's good enough for them, why isn't it good enough for the nurses? Seems a bit two-faced, double standards. Who knows? Let's look at the article and let's see if next year you'll be out on your doorstep clapping. So it seems that good enough for thee, but not good enough for me is the order of the day for the RCN. So we'll get to the headline. Hypocrisy claim as the Royal College of Nursing offers its staff 4.5% pay rise while asking for a 19.2% for members. RCN members will go on strike this Thursday in dispute over a 19.2% pay rise. The requested pay rise would cost the government £10 billion of public money. But the RCN is offering its own staff a rise of just 4.5% plus a £1,200 one-off payment. Now, a 4.5% rise is effectively a 5.5% pay cut. They want their own members to have a double inflation rate while offering a staff rise of less than half the percent of increase on inflation. And any pay rise that doesn't match inflation is an effective pay cut. So they're giving their own workers a 5.5% pay cut. So hypocrisy much? Will we be on the streets applauding them next year when they go on strike and people die? People will die. And every person who dies, the family of that person, needs to sue the RCN members because they will have contributed to the death of that member of their family. They will have contributed to the suffering. And they need, therefore, to be sued because they're not doing the job for which they are paid. Now, whether they're paid enough or not is a different matter. I think they do deserve a pay rise, yes, but a realistic one. And nearly 20% is not realistic and it's not affordable. Anyway, we're getting to the story. A whistleblower at the RCN, the Royal College of Nursing, has accused the striking union of hypocrisy, of course, after it offered its own employees a pay rise of just 4.5%. And the RCN, whose members will go on strike this Thursday, and we have to look to see how many excess deaths there are on Thursday, is asking the government for a pay rise of 19.2%, which would cost £10 billion of public money. And it's offering its own staff a rise, as I say, of 4.5%, plus a £1,200 one-off payment. A senior member of staff at the RCN, who does not want to be named, obviously, told the Daily Mail it is now very likely a majority of staff who are members of the GMB could vote to go on strike themselves. And this could prevent further RCN strikes from going ahead, because if you've got no one in the hospital, then many, many thousands, tens of thousands of people will die. And when that happens, all love for the NHS in this country will end. The NHS is an appalling organisation, let's be honest. It's not the dedication of the workers, but it's systemically falling apart. Too many managers, too many people rising through the ranks who are ill-qualified, who are unnecessary. They have managers of managers of managers. There's levels of bureaucracy that are totally at odds with the efficient running of any kind of business. It needs to be rebuilt from the ground up. But the people of this country are very proud of the NHS and they love the NHS. But when things like this happen, it starts to lose the gloss. It starts to lose its little sheen of love. And that means that change is more likely. And I think we are getting to the point where change is necessary. For a start, it's a national health service, and yet we are paying for people coming in all over the world and not charging them. There should be one person at the gate of every hospital who, as every patient comes in, inquires as to how the treatment will be funded. Will it be national insurance, i.e. are they British citizens? Or will it be private insurance? Or will it be credit card if they're not British citizens? Anyone who's not British has to pay. That alone would save $1 billion a year. Of that 20% pay rise, that alone, putting someone there, stopping these foreigners from getting free access to the NHS, would pay for 2% of that 20% wage rise that they demand. So, that is a possibility of doing something along those lines. But I think the whole organisation will have to change. And previously that's been resisted because the public sort of like the NHS. But when they see tens of thousands of people dying, that will change. I think the nurses are about to shoot themselves in the foot. I think the nurses are about to find out that people are quite fickle. So staff at the union play a vital role deciding which services are exempt from action, paying strikers money on the days they do not work, managing picket lines and overseeing emergency situations. The whistleblower said the union staff are in the same position as the nurses, claiming management said it couldn't afford to pay more. So the union is saying that, they can't afford to pay more, but they're demanding massive rise from the government, which is giving exactly the same excuse. Why are they saying, we can't afford to pay more and that's acceptable, and the government says we can't afford to pay more and that's not acceptable? What is going on with these people? Do they have this dissonance in their mind? Do they even acknowledge the irony of this? An RCN spokesman said, we're an award-winning employer with salaries amongst the highest in the sector, and we work with our internal union to negotiate pay. There is a growing concern over the imminent nursing strike, which could see operations cancelled and the army drafted in, although life-threatening treatment will be still be given as normal. Will it, though? I guarantee on Thursday there will be a rise in the number of deaths in the NHS. Guarantee it. There has to be. Any action has consequences. The RCN says its action is justified because experienced nurses are worse off by 20% in real terms due to successive below-inflation awards. So they're moaning about a below-inflation award and giving their own staff a below-inflation award. What hypocrisy, what cant, what lying two-facedness is this union guilty of? And they had £1,400 a year extra given to them in the summer, so they're not exactly bereft. And the thing is now the nurses are actually on an average wage in this country. That is not a poor rate. Try working for minimum wage and see what you get. So I think asking for 20% is just greed, but then you have the hypocrisy of these buggers paying their own members a quarter of what they're after and a below rate of inflation rise and saying that's good enough. Anyway, I shall finish there and come up. Perhaps they'd have more sympathy if they requested the same rise that they're giving as for their own members. And personally, yes, I appreciate that inflation is 10%, but there's no way employers can afford a 10% pay rise. And the service level of the NHS would fall, and it's already falling. I mean, it is well below pre-COVID levels, even though they've had untold billions pumped in. So you have to ask, where is the money going? Because it certainly isn't going frontline action, as I speak from my experience back in sort of end of May, early June this year, when I saw how appalling hospitals were. So, you have to ask why, where is the money going and why? Are the nurses not getting that out of existing hospital funds? And why are we paying all these senior managers who do, as far as I can tell, zero jobs, so much money? And then we have the diversity inclusion teams that cost million upon millions upon millions of pounds all over the country. They're not needed. If we started charging foreigners for the services You know, that would be money saved. That could be money given to nurses. You can't just keep asking for more money when it isn't there. And then that in itself is bad enough, but then to then have that hypocrisy of just not paying your own people what you're after, you know, it's two-faced in this. I certainly shan't be out clapping for you again. Anyway, I shall round off, and thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see and hear on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring that bell for notification of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay out of hospital on Thursday, and goodbye.